right. It is a beautiful July 3rd. Isn't it nice out here? But, my friends, we can't get out there today for what I want to do. So, didn't want to let you all down. So, before I put all this gear away, we're going to do a little show and tell. This'll work. Hey, howdy, hey, my friends. And we are listening to the awesome Rebel Union. My legs are fucking killing me today. So, the past 3 days that I've been out a couple of times, I think I've walked a total of maybe an hour. And that's it. Don't judge a book by its cover, my friends. And so it's 4:30 on July 3rd, 1863. And so about now, 15,000 Confederates marched across a field. One of them was my great-great-great-grandfather in 57th Virginia with Armistead with his sword on his hat. His hat on his sword. And less than 5,000 maybe made it. And so that's what was going on 158 years ago, today, right now. And so I have a bunch of gear out here, and so I couldn't get out there. Most of my friends right now are shooting rifles, they're firing cannons, and once they're in camp, most people don't leave camp. And don't usually have cell phones and stuff when we're doing living history. So I couldn't get out to Pickett's Charge, and I was really wanting to get out there. In my wheelchair would have been awesome, because I probably could have made it across the field, but I probably wouldn't. I would have just said, hey, howdy, hey, and filmed some festivities and stuff going on at the angle. And so I couldn't get out, so I didn't want to let you all down, and I've been talking about a show and tell for quite a while now. So, since we couldn't get out to Pickett's Charge or out to the farm for the battle reenactment today, on this very important day, this charge, Pickett's Charge, most people have heard that, but they don't know what it was. If Pickett's Charge would have succeeded, it would have changed the course of this battle. And it did not succeed. Changing the course of this battle would have changed the course of the history of this country on this day, the day before Independence Day. And so I hope you guys all have an awesome Independence Day. And for my friends that reached out to me, Sharon, especially Sharon, she was the first one to light my phone up, telling me to be careful out there and don't injure yourself or take any chances for content. It was such a different take. Sharon's been a rock for me for a lot of years. We went to college together. Thank you, Sharon. And for my other friends who also chimed in and told me not to take any unnecessary risks, thank you for understanding. And I don't. I'm safe in this wheelchair. I really am. This is like my safe room. My leg feels like it's being beaten with hammers. But I'm cool. I'm in a good mood today. The weather is freaking amazing outside, you guys. I really wish I was out in the battlefield. But I need assistance, and I just can't find that assistance. People are busy doing other things. Oh, there's some nice red and yellow finches out there in the bird bath. But you guys, without further ado, I want to show you some of my stuff. First and foremost, this is my showboat hat. This is a Hollywood hat. This is a costume hat, but it is straight up Hollywood hat, no kidding. And so I got this from an actor friend of mine who unfortunately is no longer with us. He was one of the best people I ever knew. And so this is his Union kepi, and he had all kinds of costumes and stuff like that. My first corps in Daniel Lady Farm passes. This first corps, this pass allows me from the Gettysburg Foundation to go anywhere on the Gettysburg battlefield completely naked as long as I'm wearing clothes. Yeah. I'll try to be close enough where you guys can see stuff. And so what do we have? We have a civvy shirt. We have a civilian shirt. This would be my churchin shirt for Sundays. This isn't something I wear on the battlefield. Hail Odin. And so this is my field shirt. The buttons on my field shirt. The shirt's modern made. The shirt's modern made. The buttons are real. These are actually Civil War buttons. These are real buttons from the Civil War. And the shirt is beat. I got cigar holes in it, and I have not washed this shirt in probably 8 years, ever. My daughter might have hand washed it in the creek once with a rock, but this has never been washed. Did you see the wallpaper curl? That was cool, huh? And so this is my Richmond Depot jacket, and this is 1862. And this jacket, when I first got it, was actually a lot more blue and gray colored. But this is how much I've worn this out, as it's faded this much, and that's where your butternut color comes from. And again, these buttons are the real deal. These are actual real Civil War buttons, and these are the red tinted, sort of rare, often sought after red. There's a red hue to these. There's a red tint to that. You might not be able to see. My buttons are real. These are real Civil War buttons from the Civil War. Now this jacket had modifications on it. These buttons are not real. These are modern reproductions. This jacket would have originally been likely without the piping. The piping would have been put on later, okay, in 1862. This pocket would have been put in by me in the field, in camp, to put extra cartridges in, tobacco. I usually put my pipe in there. And it's a nice jacket. Jody Nolan made that jacket. That was about $250 used, and I haven't done nothing to it. And boy, it's dirty. This has never been washed, ever. I've slept in thunderstorms in that, slept in the mud. I've gone through Blackford's Ford with the rifle over my head with that jacket. This is a civilian vest my daughter made for me, I think, after the 145th Gettysburg. And so I need to put some buttons and some other, it needs to be finished. But it's awesome. My daughter made that for me. I think she was 10 years old when she made that. And my military vest, it could be used either, but it's got military buttons on it that are repros. The wood buttons are the real deal. The wood buttons are probably 160, 170 years old. But the Virginia buttons I have on there, because I usually portray Virginia. But my Virginia buttons on there are modern repros. And this is a decent vest. It's not super fancy, but it gets the job done. It's very basic. And again, this kepi is not something that I would wear at an event or as a soldier at all. This is for show, this is for fun, this is for me making videos. And so I was going to pack away a bunch of this stuff, a bunch of my gear, my accoutrements, into my old coffee box. And so I thought I would share. And so this coffee box is a real coffee box. okay? This is actually a coffee bean box from the 1880s. That was a gift from a reenactor friend of mine. She was a living historian who portrayed, I think her name was Rose Greenhouse. She's a spy. So she used to portray spies, Southern Confederate spies. But that's a real deal coffee box that the old cooks in the cattle trains, in the old cattle trains in the 1880s would have used that. That's what they received their coffee beans in. And so I thought it would be good. I thought it would be good to put my Civil War stuff in there, and that's what I usually put my impressions and gear and stuff in there. Hats, hats, hats. This one is a work in progress. I'll flip around, guys, so I'm not blocking your view. Sure is a nice day out there. This hat is a work in progress, and it was also a gift from an actor friend of mine. And so what I've done with this, imagine Ulysses S. Grant or a Union general or a Civil War general, and they're wearing their hat with the braids and the gold horn, and it's all fancy. That's what this used to be. And so I've completely modified, and I'm starting to reform it into a hat that's more my style. And so I've taken off all the extra stuff, the cording, the general's emblems and everything. And so with hot water and steam, I'm reshaping it. And it's gonna be kick-ass. This is like, I'm loving it. Hell yeah, that's a badass hat right there. Hell yeah. So with this here, I could do Iron Brigade. I could do Northern, like Illinois, Wisconsin, or I could do Southern as a slouch hat with this. This is great. And so a hat like this, when I'm done with this, $100 to $200 once I'm done with this. And again, it was a gift from a friend, and I'm just completely redoing it. Now, one thing that we would do that would be historically accurate is see how this folds over on the brim and is sewn. That wouldn't have been something that would have been a slouch hat during the 1860s, 1850s, or 60s. It's a beautiful day out, you guys. I can't believe it. It must be like 80, 75. Nice cool breeze, beautiful sky. And if you're tuning in, thanks for tuning in. One of the reasons I wanted to make this video, and I told you I wouldn't let you down, is because there's a bunch of my Civil War hobos, my Civil War hobo friends, who are reaching out and they were wishing they could be here. And most of them are newly disabled, like I'm newly disabled. And they wish they could be here. When I say Civil War hobo friends, like my buddy Don yesterday, we get out and we hobo around the battlefield, and we usually hit places that not everybody hits. Or my friend Melanie, when my friend Melanie comes to town, we'll get out in the battlefield and explore the Civil War hobo, that's what I call it. And so I think the last time we went to the Bushman farm and explored a little bit, not to be confused with the activities that happened afterwards, but it was a really good exploration. So seeing places like that where Melanie's just like, let's check that out. She didn't know anything about it. I knew a little bit about it. So that's Civil War hobo. And that time we went down to Willoughby Run. And so this I wanted to do also for those friends who they wish they could be here. I couldn't get out. You can't get out, and you can't get out, and you can't get out, especially out here. So welcome to in here. I wanted to shoot this outside, but I can't get this stuff outside, shoot a video, and get everything back inside by myself at all. I don't have the juice to do it. I'm working on it though. So for my friends far and wide who are not U.S. citizens, Gettysburg, this 3 days, actually I should say 4, July 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, and 4th was the retreat. Okay, so the Union Army chased the Army of Northern Virginia all the way back over the Appalachian Mountains, where you guys often see me film and shoot sunset and stuff out of my deck. They would have been headed right back out that way on the 4th. On the 4th, I'm going to shoot up to the ranger station. It's like right up by the barn. It's maybe a quarter mile. I like to check out the fireworks, shoot off the Enfield. Hats, hats, hats. This is my Tennessee Kepi, and this was made by Dirty Belly. And I threw that clip on myself. It's got a Nashville tag in it. And so I originally got this to start building my Tennessee impression. Why a Tennessee impression, Daryl? Now I got this pattern for a Tennessee regimental coat from Donna Abraham years ago, and I'm still waiting for my daughter to make it for me. And so I got this regimental coat. Start my Tennessee uniform. Why? Archer's Brigade, Archer's Tennessee Brigade, fought right here. Archer's Brigade was the vanguard of the initial attacks on Gettysburg. So Archer was the first to engage the 7th, 2nd Wisconsin, the Iron Brigade from Michigan. And the units there were the 1st, 7th, and 14th, Tennessee, and Alabama, and I'm not sure if it was the 3rd. I can't remember off the top of my foggy brain. But if I can get out, when I can get out, and I probably will not be back outside on 2 feet until October. In November is Remembrance Day Parade, and I'd like to get downtown in a wheelchair. And so Wheelchair Solutions with historical accuracy, you guys saw me post on my social networks earlier today. Wheelchairs in use by Civil War soldiers, and that was pretty cool. From the Museum of Civil War Medicine, and my daughter's always wanted to go there, so maybe we can take a little field trip and go down, it's not too far, it's down by Frederick, and go to the Civil War Museum of Medicine. That would be really cool. I'd love to see a freaking cool Civil War wheelchair. Wouldn't that be bitchin'? And so that's our black hat, and our black hat is kick-ass. I love it. And this is my fancy dapper hat, and it's kind of like a Robert E. Lee hat, and I did not purchase this, and I did not purchase it for that purpose at all. But this hat was a gift from a friend, and it was not ever meant to be a Robert E. Lee hat or anything like that at all. I have no desire to portray an officer. I have no desire to portray any famous generals or anything. I'm a private, in the mud, in the dirt private. And so this is a good hat. You guys saw me. I have a video yet to post where I'm across the street. It's an addendum to my day 1 video where I'm talking more about a little bit about what happened there, as opposed to talking about multiple sclerosis awareness. I shot another video. It's about 10 minutes. So once I get that together, I'll probably have it online tomorrow. And I'm wearing this hat. And so this is my fancy hat. I'd wear that with my civilian garb, my church and duds, I call them, going to a ball or a dance, usually a dance. I don't do big fancy balls. And my farmer hat. My original impression was an 1858 farmer impression from Southern Virginia. And so this is my farmer hat. Fun, fun. Now this stuff here, I'll grab a lap full. Show you what I got. And so this is a scrubber. Alright, so I take some lye and lard soap, and this is wrapped up in wax paper with hemp twine. And I get some of that lye soap that I pretty much use for everything. And once this is gone, it's gone. It's a bunch of smelling fellers. But this here I would use to scrub my pots and pans, my accoutrements that I eat with, that sort of thing, in the field. This isn't something I usually take with me, and I've had dysentery a few times. This is the same deal. This is more of a hard scrubber, and this is pre-Civil War, and these things wear out pretty good. But it works. Some of this stuff is for when we would do bigger encampments, like a big battle reenactment, that I would have stuff like this, where I would carry with me clothespins. Okay, that's for like a bigger encampment. What I usually do, and what I've done most of, is what people would call a hardcore campaigner. And when I got started in Civil War reenacting, I didn't even know what that was, and I didn't know that that's what I was doing. So that was my introduction to Civil War reenacting. And my friend Don from the 142nd PA was here yesterday, and he had made this, we had a nice conversation about it. I wanted to film it, where he had said, you know, most people don't just get right into hardcore campaigning. Most people do regular level reenacting, and then they get into hardcore campaigning. I was doing hardcore campaigning day one, and I didn't know. I thought that was reenacting. And so that was just how I was introduced, and that's what the people I knew, that's what they did. And so that's all I knew for a long time, until I got settled in Gettysburg, and there's so many different levels and different ways that people do reenacting and living history, where I don't really prefer big events. I like being out in the battlefield in places most people don't go, and interacting with people, leaving them with a good memory, maybe teaching something they never knew before, and maybe I can learn something from them I never knew before too. And extra bags I put food in, hardtack, that I would make with a hardtack press. And sometime we'll make some hardtack. And again, stuff like this I wouldn't be taking with me on. We did a march we camped around Blackford's Ford, went up through Sharpsburg, where on the battlefield saw where the 57th was, and hiked piecemeal between there and Gettysburg, and the Appalachian Trail is handy. And we did that in period impression. And so I wouldn't take something like this stuff with me. The soap, yeah. Clothespins, no. Now for a bigger encampment, like a big annual battle, like I said, I'd have a lot of these extra things. I'd take everything with me if we're going to be there camping for like 3 days. But usually what I do is stuff that's on the move. It's just like a makeshift quick camp, and that's it. Most of the time when I go out, that I have gone out, I don't even take a half shelter with me. I have a gun blanket, that's all I need. And so that's what I'm used to. It's a lot easier. If you're a backpacker, you know, get rid of the weight. And my sewing kit. 2 more things. So this is my sewing kit. Obvious application would be to make sewing and repairs in the field, right? Some nice little fabric, some blue and gray stuff, patch up our stuff in the field, which I never have done. So, but it's nice when you're doing a display and you're setting up your display in your camp. It's nice to show as many interesting conversation and thought-provoking items that you might want to discuss, you know, from the past. And this handkerchief that you guys have seen me using, this handkerchief for years. This is a reproduction handkerchief from the 4th Howitzers, the Richmond Howitzers, okay, the 4th. And that unit, that artillery unit, is the unit that Sage's great-great-great-grandfather Cowardin, who was an officer in that unit, he was in that unit. And this actual real handkerchief you can see in the Civil War Museum in Richmond, Virginia. And so their family, if you've ever been to Hollywood Cemetery and you look at the street signs, you'll notice one of the streets is Cowardin, and the Cowardins have their own monument in Hollywood Cemetery. Quick story, if you know the pyramid in Hollywood Cemetery down in Virginia, down in Richmond, Virginia, during one of their reunions 100 years ago, her grandfather climbed to the top of the pyramid and put some kind of unit or class ring at the top of the pyramid. Back in the 70s, Sage's mom, my ex-wife, they went to the cemetery, she climbed all the way to the top, and the ring was still there. And so now it's in their collection where they have his uniform and they have his saber and his guns and like everything. And so it's a little piece of Sage's, my in-laws' history, Sage's mom's family history. And so that's why this handkerchief has that meaning, that connection. That's all you need. That's all you need to eat and drink. And that's a kick-ass, all-rich cup right there. And so the leather shoestring I use to attach that to my haversack. This is a badass cup. Yep, that's kick-ass. I've had this forever, and I mean cooking, drinking, whatever. This is all you need. And so this haversack of mine, real bone button, I was looking for that. So I want to explain that to you guys. So this haversack, right down to the number of stitches, is a reproduction of a haversack that is also in the Civil War Museum down in Richmond. And you can look that up and you can see the real haversack, the real handkerchief, that what these are based off of. So canvas and tar, and I have had to reinforce these. I don't think I did it in the field, but I had to reinforce this. We're getting weak. And so what we do is, a lot of boys will just write on the button, right? And a lot of guys tie them right here. I also don't like it hitting my canteen, but that's what I do, and that's what that's for. And this, my friends, since we're on the topic of food and drink, what else might I do if I were in the field and I need something to eat, something to cook on, something to eat on, and I wanted to keep my cup just for my water? What would we do? Well, out in the field there's a bunch of dead people, and they got all kinds of crap laying around. And so you go around, you pick up some of that crap, okay, from all the dead soldiers running around. Some of them have old busted canteen, right? And so I scavenged one of these off the battlefield, and I've got some other canteen half. It's a good iron plate to cook on. This is thick and it's iron, and so I usually cook on this. Eggs, bacon, whatever. Even if the bacon's 4 days old, it's all you got to eat with some peanuts. And so canteen half, I have another tin plate, but I can cook on this. The thing is, and this is a cheesy, phony extra cup. If I were in a big camp, if we were in a big camp, a big battle or something, we're going to be there for a week, I'd take all this stuff with me. And this here I used to hang and cook stuff with over a fire with a bunch of folks. But like I said, I like doing smaller, littler things out there. Before I got off track, I was talking about the 7th and 14th and the 1st Tennessee over here in Archer's Brigade, because when I can get out a little ways up here, and if I can start getting a ride and stuff, I can just hang out, sit on my butt in the grass, in the shade, when it's nicer out, near Archer's position with the Iron Brigade, talk to people, leave them with that memory of what happened here. Who were these people? Who were these boys from Tennessee? What were they coming here from? What were their stories? Where'd they come from? Like, who were they married to? What'd they do? Was their occupation? What kind of church they go to? And tell those stories, give people that little bit of bond with, that's what we do. That's what living history is. So I'd scavenge this canteen off the battlefield, right? Make the most of it. So I only need 1/2. And that's it. All I need is this to cook and eat with. A canteen half. That's it. I can cook with this, eat with it, all this stuff. I don't need the rest of this stuff. Now that old Canteen cover